Hey guys, James here today and welcome back to another Sims 4 house building challenge. Today we are building a thin house. It's only 3 tiles wide, but it's going to be 4 stories high. So obviously a lot of these do exist in real life. I guess a more notable city where you might see some thin houses would be in Amsterdam, where I believe the reason was, I feel like everyone knows this, but the reason for having such thin houses is because you would charge depending on how wide your house was, I think, way back when. Anyway, I thought it'd be cool to sort of have a house that the idea was that the only piece of land they could find was just this tiny little alleyway, and they decided, let's build a house in the alleyway. So that's what I'm doing, and I decided to do it in Windenburg because it has that sort of aesthetic already of a lot of townhouses along a canal. So I actually recreated a couple of the townhouses. You can see them in the background of this shot here. The light gray brick building and the red brick building. I'm basically recreating those two over here. Originally, I was only doing 3 stories. Then I actually upped it because I realized I probably had a lot more space to work with that way. But yeah, this is a really interesting challenge. And if you do want to try this yourself, and I would really love for you guys to do this as well, make sure to, upload them to the gallery yourself and do a video if you want. I uploaded a blank version of this to the gallery, just called Tiny Home Challenge. It's just basically the 2 townhouses on either side. So I've built these shells, and then in the middle is empty, but you have to fit a house in that 3 wide gap. Now, the reason this ends up being quite challenging was because of stairs. Literally stairs. If we had ladders or just a steeper staircase, then it would probably be a little bit easier. Or spiral stairs would also help. Now, there are elevator mods. I do have a mod for functioning elevators, but I actually don't know if you can use them over multiple floors. I know you can use them to link 2 floors at least anywhere, because we did use that in my rooftop clubhouse or rooftop club bar build for Get Famous, and we did use it there, and it was really good because it allowed us to go up to the top floor without them having to walk through all the stairs and all that, which took forever. But I just use regular stairs, no mods or anything in this build. So I use regular stairs, and that pretty much takes up the entire build because it's only 3 wide, and when you take a whole tile out of the width to add stairs in, it takes up a lot of space. Now, the other option I had was obviously to put them at the end of the build and do a U-shape or a little, wraparound staircase, but that really doesn't save space. And some of the floors that I actually end up building are quite small. A lot of it doesn't actually take up, okay, you'll see as we go, because I'm also trying to do this as a tiny home. So I didn't want to go over 100 tiles. There's no way I was going to get 32 tiles over a 4-story townhouse in an alleyway because it's just too much space. So I decided I would at least try and make it one tiny home. So it's going to be under 100 tiles. And it's going to be completely livable. It's going to be great. It's play tested. We'll check it out at the end of the time lapse as well, and we can check it out in game and see it there. But the idea was we got these 2 traditional townhouses. Someone's come along, bought up the alleyway. They're going to try and build some modern, contemporary little build in between, and try and make it as special and unique from the outside as possible. Now, I went to Google. I pretty much Googled thin house. And I took a lot of inspiration from that Google search. So if you need some inspiration on how to decorate a 3 tile wide build, that's probably a good place to start. I was trying a lot of different things here, so I'm trying to do a bunch of different things because surprisingly, with only 3 tiles wide but 4 stories, it can be really, really bland if it's just a big flat wall. Yeah, we could do a big flat wall. That would work and probably be the easiest to work with and the easiest to furnish because it'd just not be a complicated shape. But it's also the least interesting. So that's why I was trying to do all these different things here, trying to mix it up and get some interesting textures and patterns and different fencings and facades on this build. So at the moment, it looks like a bit of a mess. It'll get there. I do a lot of fiddling around, trying to get something that looks a little bit more interesting, a little bit more decent. Do a few balconies here and there on the build, just to sort of set it back, because I didn't want it to be completely flush with the other buildings, because then again, that would also make it look a little bit more bland than I really want it to. So it's sort of set back in a few places. We got all these different architectural elements. There's so much messing around with all of this. This entire time lapse isn't even the entire build. It got to a point where I think in the furnishing, it was just because the build is so tall and thin, there's a lot of rotating on the camera, and I'm just this is gonna look terrible in a time lapse. So I'll give a nice tour at the end, and you can see it all there. Now I also wanted to do a lot of greenery because that's something I saw a lot in the Google Images. They got a little Google image search was that a lot of them had lots of greenery to sort of maximize the small amount of space they had. and make it feel a lot more welcoming than just a big tower. Now, not saying that this house, if you had this in reality, would be that practical. I mean, some people live in houses like this, but for me personally, I don't know that I'd want to live in a 4-story thin house, because it just, that's too much climbing on stairs. It's too much for me, but it looks really cool. So, I wanted to build it. And it was a nice challenge actually in Sims to see if we could get it to even work and be decent. We do end up fitting in a double bedroom and a single bedroom. We probably could have fit another one if we didn't want a living room, but I kind of figured we'd want at least a kitchen, a dining room, and a living room. I mean, the dining room is kind of just in the kitchen, but you know what I mean. A dining table, kitchen, and living space. And then we have 2 bathrooms, which are actually the same, just separated over 2 floors. It's kind of interesting though, because we really can't make rooms in this build because there's just so little space. You'll see once we get to the floor plan, and it's kind of hard to tell right now because I'm kind of talking ahead of where we're at because we're still working on the facade. I spent a lot of time on the front of this build just trying to figure out how to get it to work, how I could make it look interesting, how I could get it to look, just something different than just a flat wall, or even different from my other builds that I've done. And this window actually from Jungle Adventure, that was perfect because I could have it overlap the next level up. So it sort of created it's sort of blending the 2 levels together. It acts as a fence on the level above, but a window on the level below. And it actually looks really, really cool. Now that was actually, I think that comes inspired from one of the thin houses on Google. So you might see something similar, sort of lattice work kind of thing going on there. So yeah, it's a lot of inspiration, and then obviously adaptation to get it to actually work in The Sims 4. I actually really like that sort of wooden slats that we have at the front, and how when you go to the next level, part of it's covered up by a half wall. I think that's really cool because it sort of gives it a new dimension rather than just flat wooden beams going across. And then, I don't know, I just had so much fun doing this. Like this whole front of the building is in itself was such a challenge and a puzzle to make it interesting. And I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, I probably would have had an easier time if it was just flat, for sure. Especially when we get to furnishing, you'll see it gets a little bit more complicated and I don't really know what I'm doing. But, we work it out in the end, so that's all good. So I was just trying to figure out how to do the windows because now it is a really thin townhouse, so we only have room for windows on the front and the back of the build, and we only have a wall that's 3 tiles wide. At the same time, I don't just want to have a big glass wall because that also looks kind of not great if you just do big flat walls with glass all over it. I mean, it wouldn't look bad, but I figured we could get something that looks better. So I was trying to make it look a little bit more interesting, and here's where I'm trying to maximize the amount of tiles and stuff that we have for the tiny build. I don't think the upper balcony ends up actually being a technical room. I used a lot of the sort of cheaty techniques to get it to be not a room, so that the interior of the house is most of the tiles that we're using. There's some of the balconies downstairs count as some of the 99 or the 100 tiles, which I guess we could have gone back and cheated around those and not made them floor space and all that, but I didn't want to get that nitpicky because most of it's fine. But it gives us this nice sort of rooftop terrace area in here, sort of a little courtyard almost. And then I do like a little outdoor seating area up the top there too, because that sort of comes off where the living space is. And then I do, I guess, this sort of trellis roofing along the top. So it just kind of provides a bit of shading. It also connects the house, the thin house, to the other townhouses on either side. Like it sort of makes it part of it, brings it all together. But it is also supposed to look like a little bit of a wedge in between the 2 buildings. I think it fits really, really well. I just almost wish that I had done it on a bigger lot so I could have built more townhouses either side, because it does seem a little ridiculous if you look at this lot as a whole. There's just 2 townhouses in this particular location, which doesn't really even look like it should have townhouses in it. I mean, there is a degree of imagination to be had here. But we're pretty much done now with the facade of the front anyway. I think I cut a little bit of it out there because I was still messing around with it. But then I figured we should probably continue with the exterior of the build in general because I want it to actually look completed. Now, around the back, I kind of wanted it to be like almost a courtyard with a bunch of townhouses around it. But then I realized that doesn't make any sense, again, for the location that we're actually building this in. It doesn't really make sense. So instead, I did like a kind of private garden. Because I saw a lot of those amongst townhouses and stuff in travels where they'll have like a community garden in the middle of like a square of townhouses that will be like private, and then the owners will have access to it. And that's kind of the idea of the garden at the back of this place. So these three houses here will share this garden at the back. So instead of having like three tiny gardens, we have one nicer, more like communal garden that we use at the back. And then the back facade of the house, I put a couple of windows there. I didn't do much. I didn't want to go over the top with it on the back like I did with the front, just because it was taking forever. And also I needed space to actually place stuff inside. And if I kept doing all these crazy builds, it wouldn't really work. Now on the interior walls that are shared, the shared walls with the builds on either side are all these painted bricks. So like they've gone in, they've just painted it white, but it's not great. It's kind of coming off, but that's the idea. So the shared walls are brick that are painted, and then the front and back walls, I think I just done like a rendered sort of white concrete. So keeping it pretty contemporary, nothing too crazy either. And then up the top there, you saw like even just I was like, yeah, let's do all these glass windows up the top. And I'm like, man, that doesn't look good. On the side here, I've done just a few like sort of staggered diagonal windows. I thought they were quite nice. That's why we'll actually end up having one of the bathrooms. And then down the bottom here, figured we should probably have a back door, which is a shame because the door takes up so much space. Like even the front door, just like it's so big. I really like that door. That's one of my favorite doors. And I just wish that they had like smaller sizes just for regular wall height. But anyway, thankfully our ground floor is actually the tall wall, so we can use it there. So I decided to put the kitchen here just underneath the stairs. I thought that was probably the best use and probably the best place to put it. Now I know in a lot of these builds, I always watch a lot of like Grand Designs or Selling Houses Australia, all those kind of property shows. And well, particularly the British shows, they tend to like putting kitchens on higher levels. I'm not entirely sure why. I'm going to guess, because it's never really explained. I'm going to guess just because if you go up higher, it's going to be warmer, and the UK is just generally colder. Because I feel like here in Australia, I don't know that I'd ever want to put my kitchen upstairs, because I feel like the heat would just be awful. Because I remember back when I lived at home with my parents, the upstairs of that house would just get so hot. It was terrible. And having a kitchen up there would just be awful. So that's my guess. I don't know. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments down below why there's often kitchens on the second floor or higher. Like I've been watching these episodes of Grand Designs, and they're building like these 3-story houses, and then they put the kitchen on the top floor. But I'm also like, okay, that's all well and good. I guess the benefits are this, right? If it's on the third floor, maybe you get a better view. You know, you get a nicer view from the living space. Maybe it is cooler up there. Not cooler, sorry, the opposite. Maybe it's warmer up there, so in the cooler months, it's not as cold to be there. But then I'm just like, that's so impractical. Like imagine going up 2 flights of stairs with your groceries all the time. Like I know some people have to do that all the time anyway. In an apartment I used to live on the top floor of that, and it was 3 flights of stairs just to get to my apartment. And that sucked. But the thing is, I wouldn't willingly choose to build my house that way. If I was doing that, I wouldn't put my kitchen on the top floor. I only had that situation because that's just the apartment that I had at the time. So I don't know. I just think it's so impractical to have a kitchen not that far up. Anyway, I'm really getting off topic here. So the kitchen is on the ground floor, fully functional with a stove, sink, and a fridge. All works. I did put a bin in there. I don't think it's in the time lapse. There is a bin, but I actually don't think the bin works. But it doesn't really matter because there is a bin just outside the front door that they can use, and that works fine. So I was like, nah, whatever. So a little dining area here. I actually end up putting a third seat there as well, because this is basically a home for 3 Sims, because it's a double bed and a single bed. So up to 3 Sims could live here quite easily. And then the rest of the ground floor is, I guess, kind of decorative. Well, no, it is functional because we do have a bookcase down here and then like a little reading corner, but it's not really anything to write home about. It is just like a little foyer area to the house where you just enter. There's a bookcase and then there's a couple of chairs, and that's it. And that's pretty much it for the ground floor. I was just trying my hardest to make it feel cozy and warm and welcoming, but it just took so long because everything is so tiny. And you can see this is the only floor where we have the floor space underneath the stairs to utilize. So this is definitely by far the biggest floor space that we have. On all the other levels, building rooms and just fitting stuff in is way, way more challenging. And you'll see that as we sort of go through. A lot of it isn't recorded in the time lapse because it did take me so long to do. So I just, I did my best. We'll have a good tour at the end. The front here just has a big mirror. I think I used a big glowing mirror that I almost never use. I think like the big one from Spa Day, maybe. Just because I never use it because I don't really like the glow in it, but I kind of like the glow in here. Maybe I didn't use it. Did I? Oh, No, maybe I use it's on this side. It's on this side. Okay, I do use it. It's just over here. We haven't done it yet. I'm just getting ahead of myself. I'm trying to remember what I did here. So yeah, just have a couple of little lounge chairs here, which I think this downstairs is pretty nice. I think it's pretty nice. If you turn an alleyway into this, that's, I'd like it. I like it. I don't know if I'd want to live here because I think the stairs would just drive me insane. If I could have a house on just one floor, I'd probably prefer that. Maybe two. I could go with two. It seems like such a non-issue, really. It's The Sims. Who cares? I just don't want a 4-story house. This house has too many levels. Okay, even though it is cool. So actually, that bed there is just temporary because I was just planning out how it's all going to fit. So this is how I'm doing the bathrooms on 2 of the floors. So it's like a 1x3. I didn't do any weird, cheaty sort of overlapping stuff, but we have one bathroom that has a toilet and a sink, and then one bathroom that is a shower. And that's how I did it. And I just flipped those windows around so there was a little bit more privacy with the sort of bathroom space. I could have made the bathroom smaller, and I could have maybe only had one bathroom, had more room for other stuff. But I figured it was more practical to have more bathrooms because there are so many levels. It'd be so frustrating. I know I keep going on about how annoying the levels would be, and I'm building the house right now. But I don't know, it would drive me nuts. Yeah, so this floor is the master bedroom and a little bathroom here. So we have a sink at one end, toilet just opposite it, and then we have the shower room over the other side. And yeah, it all works really, really well. And then the next floor up, we have a single bedroom, and then on the roof level, or the top level, is the living room. So I don't know how useful that is, having a kitchen on the furthest away floor from the living room. That's also probably not a great design, but that's also why I'm actually really curious to see what you guys do with this if you pick it up and give it a go, because it's a little bizarre. It really is. It was an unusual one to do. And then in here, I did like a little scaled down blind on that window because I figured there is a shower there, so maybe we should have a little bit of privacy. There is a second window that is lower down there, but it's not in line with the shower, so I figured it was fine. I do like a little home office here. Well, home office is a very generous term for this. I do a little desk and a computer just in the hallway here because we had a little nook. Thought it was good for that. And then I think we have another little nook on the next level up that we also have a little bit of space there for. Yeah, and I think that's kind of, this is like the layout we're going with. The bedroom was quite tough because the bed doesn't quite fit. Like it does, but it kind of doesn't because you kind of have to shove it into the wall a bit. So I guess in this case, I am glitching it a little bit. And this is where I got kind of annoyed by so originally in the Sims 4 base game, you could put a double bed against the wall and Sims would get in and scoot across to the other side that wasn't directly accessible. Then another Sim could get in. That is entirely possible in the base game of The Sims 4. However, and I think it is still possible, but it's really, really hit or miss whether or not it works. However, there is a confirmed, because I was getting so annoyed with it. I was like, why doesn't this work? It'd make all the tiny builds in the world so much easier. I looked it up, and there was a post from March this year in 2020, so about 1 month ago, that says, when using a sleep or napper interaction, Sims don't do the scoot animation to get to the side of the bed that's against the wall. They just sleep on the side that's not against the wall. It broke when expansion pack 2 patch came out. It's a bug we're tracking. So that means it broke in 2015. In December, or around December 2015. It's like, oh. I know that The Sims has so many bugs that are probably more important than that one. But it just, in particular, frustrated me in this build because it would have been so infinitely useful if that had just worked. I know some people it still works for. I don't really know the criteria in which it works, but I can never get it to work for me. I know people have suggested some things and it kind of works. But anyway, the thing is, it's far too broken for me to reliably put in a build and say, this is a double bed that works, because it doesn't. Now, the other thing is, even when the whole bed scooting thing worked, you still can't woohoo in a bed that is against a wall, and that was confirmed to just be a feature and not something that I ever intended. So if that was the case, then there'd be no woohoo spot in this build. But anyway, the whole roundabout thing of me even mentioning any of that is that's why the bed sort of glitched into the wall a little bit, because I had to make it fit. It would fit if the game wasn't broken. So yeah. So up the top here, we just have, this is the living space. I was going to do another banister with the windows like that. Then I decided not to because it was going to cover, because I was like, we could open up that space, make it a nice like spot to put a TV on the wall. It really makes it feel a little bit bigger than it would do otherwise. And it gives us a place to put this sofa here, which I know is in front of the double door, but the double door still functions fine. In my mind, they would only use one of the doors. The problem is this game does not have single glass doors that match those single glass windows, and it's so frustrating. Anyway, so I just used that one because I thought it looked quite good. But yeah, we're going to jump into the house tour now. I know we skipped a whole floor of furnishing and we haven't even finished the living room. But honestly, like, look at the camera right now. This is why I stopped recording. So we'll jump into the game and we'll have a tour of it right now. All right, so here we are with the finished build. I've done a few things around the front here. Like, got these little decorative trees and benches. I actually don't know. Did we do the trees in the time lapse? I'm not sure. We didn't do the vines though. I added some stuff to the side of the building because it looked a little blank. Around the back, this is the community garden I was talking about. So I just did this in between. Well, not in between. I just did it not in the time lapse. So it's a little garden with a few little, you know, bits of play equipment, a nice big tree for shadows for shade. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it's just a little footpath through it. You know, it's just like a little communal space that they can all share. And then it's in between these two townhouses, which are based on these ones back here. They are a little smaller, you'll notice, but other than that, I took every bit of inspiration to build these from those. Just so it blends in. If you put it in Windenburg, it's going to blend in, you know, completely. That's the idea. Anyway, so this is our little townhouse, which I think that looks so cool. I don't know. I'm really happy with the facade of this because it's just interesting. It like sort of is just nestled in between those two builds. It's very thin. Don't mind that. I don't know. That's the first time I've ever seen that glitch. I feel like it doesn't glitch normally. No, if you're close enough, it doesn't. Anyway, whatever. So that is the build. It sits in there. It's only 3 tiles wide. It's 4 stories high. A nice little roof like this. Even added some glass panes in the roof for a skylight that looks down the stairwell there. Around the back, the back facade's not as fun as the front, but I still think it's very cool. So let's just have a quick tour like this. So these are just both empty buildings that do not count towards the floor tile space of the tiny build. So ground floor here, we've got, you know what, let's just maybe jump in like this. Yeah, I think this actually looks really nice. We put the walls up like that. No, it's a nice, really nice area. But if you came into this house, you'd be like, so where does it open up? But you just set it up. There's a little kitchen in here, fully functional. That's a bin that I don't know that they can use, but it doesn't matter because there is a bin just outside. That all works, all tested. Up the stairwell here. I actually do really like using like a wall and windows as like oh, you know what? Oh, no, never mind. I was gonna say we could remove the balustrade on those stairs, but we need it there. Yeah, I actually really like using a wall because it feels quite nice because we can't use the floor space under the stairs anyway, so I figured we might as well just cover it up. So we've got a little office here, and then, like I said, we've got the bathroom in there. We won't go into those. We don't need to see that. Through here, though, this is the double bedroom. Whoa. You know what? Let's jump out of that view. Double bedroom in here. There's really not much more I could do in this room. Just because we need every inch of space for a sim to be able to get in here. So they can get in here. It's all functional. Little dresser there. You know, some decoration. It does peek through here. That's what I'm talking about. If you actually even shift it forward slightly, then they can't get to the other side, which is a shame. But, you know, the way it is right now, it's functional. That works. Little bathroom in there. Then we have a little shower room in here. Actually, you know what? I did change one thing. Can we still get in there? Okay, can you stop milling around? Okay, good. Because I put that hamper in there because I did add a laundry on the next floor. That's a little glass floor tile that lets light, you know, it's just a little light well to let light through. So up here we have another little bathroom right here. This is the single bedroom, which I quite like. It's a little kid's room. Maybe we can get a nice view here. Yeah, look at that. I think that's quite nice. Nice little bedroom in there. A little single room. Let's get out of that view because it's really hard to see this. That's the laundry there. So I've got a laundry room in there. This room's got a hamper in there as well. So there's a couple of clothes hampers. Another little shower there. Upstairs is the living room, which I think turned out quite nice. I put a couple of things here on top of the half wall just so the Sims didn't go there and put plates on it because that would have annoyed me. But yeah, that TV all works. The living room works. They can use all this space. And then we've got a little dining area out the back here, which you could also put a barbecue or something up here. All that kind of stuff. But that completely works. It is a 2-bedroom, thin house that fits in this area. It is a tiny home as well, by all measures of this. So it works out. And if you want to download this, it is on the gallery. I'll link it down below. I will also link the blank version, which is on my gallery, which we can see if I go to my library. This version here, the Tiny House Challenge. If I just place this down, you can see this is actually base game. So it does say it requires get together, though I'm not actually sure what from get together it requires because it doesn't say. Like if we have a look at it, so you can download this with base game, it should be fine. It says get together. If I click on it and say show used items, there's nothing. So I'm thinking maybe it was a wallpaper, but then I'm using base game wallpapers, so I'm not entirely sure what from Get Together I used. Not a roof pattern, is it? No, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because it's in this world. But this is all base game, so you should be able to download this. I cleaned out the garden a little bit. But yeah, so if you download this, try and build a house in this space. Have fun. I mean, you don't have to do it as a tiny home like I did. You can do it more. You could even add a basement if you wanted, but keep it the 3 tile wide. I'd love to see what you guys can do. But thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time, and have an awesome day.